All right, everyone, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Legends video. This is one that I wanted to kind of do for a while, and I'm finally doing it, so I hope you guys enjoy this one. The like goal for today's video, if you do, is 800, so remember to do so. Also, scan the QR code on the screen for some goodies. All right, that being said, stay tuned, because I will be doing a unique gauge ranking tier list video sometime in the next few days, so let me know in the comments as well what you guys want to see in terms of upcoming videos like that, or other videos. They don't have to be Legends, whatever. Also, what do you guys think is the best unique gauges in the game in terms of effects and activation time, etc.? For example, LF Cell had a really slow version, but they did kind of patch that with the equip, but nonetheless, some of them are just slower than others and just proc different ways. Some characters have 2 gauges because they've got the tag switch gauge and then the actual unique gauge, right? So anyway, we're going to go through all of that. So for today's video, we are going to talk about and give some credit to the devs for producing some of the crazy stuff that they've produced, for better or worse. I think for the last year and a half, Legends has been pretty awesome with the new stuff and effects and stuff that they've been putting in the game. So we're going to give some highlights and spotlights to some of these characters. So I hope that you guys enjoy, and let me know in the comments as well for today's video, which new effect were you most excited about seeing introduced? Which one did you enjoy the most? Now, some of these are going to vary. For example, we used this Vegito as a reference. He doesn't really do anything in particular that's like super duper new or original, things like that. His new gimmick is the tapping, right? So that's kind of like his gimmick, but it's also not really like new, right? Because it's in that single player mode. God damn it, I can't think of it right now, but the single player like co-op style mode where you do the tap punches. And for the record, that does mean that one, the tapping for the blast rush that they do. That does mean that there's going to be more versions like Vegito that use the tapping, you know, repeatedly when they do the blast. Maybe there's going to be a limit, like, or not a limit, but like a visual number of taps, like in that co-op mode thing. They're also going to do the strike version. They're also going to probably do that secondary rush version. I'm scared for what that one could mean. You know what I'm saying? Since they've already dipped into that, they will do those eventually. But that's kind of new on a character, though. So, yeah, we will give him that. But what's going to kind of happen with some of these characters is they're going to have some versions of some of these effects, but it's going to be like the first time that it's going to be non-cancelable, or the first time it's going to last for a super long period of time, etc. And, you know, I guess really if we go back to VB, and again, for better or worse, right? They created a character with him that has a lot of that stuff I was just kind of mentioning. But, like, they created a character with him that has near infinite cover null, and he's the first character in the game to have that. If you've been watching the videos for a while, and if you have, huge shout out to you. I know the subscriber, you know, retention from subscribers, stuff like that kind of comes and goes. People prefer other people's content before mine. It's fine. Anyway, if you've been watching and supporting, you've heard me say that the progression of this game has gone pretty interesting, because there was a time, like with Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, obviously the LF one, when he got his Zenkai, I was like, dude, they should just, I don't care that he has nullify covers on his ultimate, they should put it on his main or on his green or something, and they refused to do it. Now, I think that was twofold, because they didn't want to give him, like, you know, they don't want to create his meta again, if you will, where he's dominating the game again. But my point is, they didn't give it to him anywhere else, and it's pretty vital to his kit, and he just doesn't have it. So he has to kind of play cuter than other characters. Got a drop combo, this and that. And it really did hold him back. It just kind of kept him from being great. But nonetheless, the big reason I think they didn't give it to him is because he already had it elsewhere. And so characters have started popping up with ways to get it in multiple spots. Like, who is it? LF Piccolo, right? Doesn't he have it like in multiple spots or something like that? There's one of the recent characters besides Vegito. And then we get to Vegito, and it's like, oh yeah, he's got it on entry. And then he gets it again on the filling of the gauge, which he's going to fill in like, what, 4 or 5 cards super easily. So he has, if he gets you, he basically has a near infinite cover null. So he's pretty crazy with that. And I can't think of anything in particular Kid Buu introduced that was kind of new. You know what I think Kid Buu's gimmick was the Rising Rush, where you can't cancel the endurance. Is that what it is? Whatever that effect is, that's the Kid Buu version, actually. The following effects occur when the enemy activates Rising Rush while he's on the battlefield. Cancels buff effects. Yeah, so he's not going to let you nullify his endurance. That's a Kid Buu thing. But that's not even like an original thing, if I recall correctly. Anyway, moving on. Rose. Rose is kind of an extension. I'm not going to go through the entire list of characters. He's kind of an extension of what we've already seen. So just because he is a bit of an extension, he does do some new stuff kind of in a different way. Since he is an extension, I'm going to highlight Super Gogeta. Do you know how insane it was that a character popped up with a second ultimate? Do you know how insane it was, again, that a character popped up with a second ultimate? Now we have a few of them, but yeah, so I'm going to highlight this guy because that mechanic was insane to introduce as a new mechanic for a character. Speaking of insane, they finally did the boy hit right with this release. They had tried a few times to release a hit character, and it just didn't. Like, I liked yellow hit. Purple hit was probably underrated. We don't really care about the EX one. But, like, without that signature time skip, you know, it just wasn't hitting the same. And so they created a mechanic where hit literally stops time in the game. It's not just a stupid little counter or anything like that. They actually have him stop time. That deserves props, man. I mean, that's a broken as hell mechanic. But still, it's pretty cool that they went out of their way to do that. This guy's gimmick is his dumb gauge, where he gets the special cover change mid-combo because, yeah, that was a great decision to create. Again, I think it's cool that they created some of these things, but it's just terrible for game balance. But it's a gacha game, so screw game balance, I guess, right? Anyway, crazy mechanic, his gimmick there. He does some other stuff too. Like he has the vanish from the rising rush and then the rising rush nullify. Like, I don't want to like boil it down on these characters to just like one specific thing. But the point of the video is like new mechanics that they're doing, right? And you'll find that a lot of characters are introducing things. And I really want to drive home the fact that if you like a mechanic in this game, from nullify cover changes to nullify endurance to special cover changes themselves, they all start somewhere. That's why I said with Vegito Blue, how now that that's a thing that's going to happen again. I mean, the preparation mechanic, we haven't got to that yet, but that was just a few months ago and it's already been reused because that's just how the game works. Obviously, they're going to reuse these things and find interesting ways to do them again. So that does mean that Gogeta's gauge will probably be specific to him for a really long time. But I think they'll find another way to produce a character that has a special cover change mid-combo because why not? Anyway, Broly. Broly didn't really do a ton of stuff. I mean, his gauge is pretty cookie cutter. It's like Kaioken, where it's like you get some good effects, vanish removal, Dragon Ball off, blah, blah, blah. Some good stuff, don't get me wrong. Oh, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about his gauge. I think Broly's gimmick, actually, is the cover change. So yeah, Broly does have, I got to give him a little more credit. Broly's gimmick is the cover change. Now, there are a number of really, really powerful cover changes in this game, from special cover changes that are like cover rescue, which is probably the single best one in the entire game, especially when a character gets it like twice, because it just stops everything, right? It just stops everything. And then there's ones like Broly or Bojack. So Purple Bojack is another character that's kind of similar to having, you know, created a mechanic type deal. And Purple Bojack, I believe, coincidentally, was what led to Vegito Blue, who I'm pretty sure created the nullify cover change mechanic, LF Vegito Blue, that I was mentioning earlier. I believe he's the originator of that mechanic. And it was only on Ultimate because Bojack would be able to swap into ults and cancel them. So anyway, Broly does something similar, except Broly's pretty crazy because he can switch into those blue cards and eat the blue card and then counter with the blue card. Like, insane stuff. That cover change is pretty crazy. His gauge, like I said, just like Kaioken, we're going to get to in a minute, is just kind of cookie cutter stuff, like, you know, powerful effects, healing, blah, 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 but nothing crazy there. Super Vegito, his gauge does that, you know, that counter on those tap shots or blast arts. I kind of wish that he had the nullify cover elsewhere. I think having a lock there just kind of really gimps this guy because he really wants to do really strong combos. But I think he probably is still pretty close to top 10 right now, so still really good character a year later. Anyway, Kaioken Goku, his gimmick is that he wants to do all those, you know, instant vanishes and stuff. So I guess if you want to give him that, but it's not like anything original or anything. I guess to his extent, like I mentioned earlier, there are going to be characters that get things more freely, etc. I guess he probably has the most free vanishes in the game because all you do is charge for a second, and well, probably like 3 seconds, and then you get a full gauge and you get like what, 5 vanishes off that. So. And you can time it well to where you get it post-vanish. It's not as easily usable as something like Kiawe or 17 or some of these other characters that get it. but I guess that's kind of okay with him. You know, his thing, I think that's also kind of something for him, but it's not an original effect, once again, is the strike ceiling. Again, when that's another mechanic, that strike ceiling, card ceiling stuff, whatever. Whenever those mechanics started popping up, it changed the game a lot because it really introduced a way to stop combos and have defensive utility. Now, I'd have to go back and look at the originator of that. That's a pop quiz. For you guys, longtime Legends fans, who's the very first character that sealed an arts card? Is it Beerus? Is it LF Beerus? It might be. Like, just any arts card, or just actually a slot is what it is. It seals a card slot. Which one? And then who's the first one that sealed an arts card? Did Majin Buu seal arts cards pre-Zenkai? I don't remember. Anyway, so yeah, Kaioken doesn't really do much. We mentioned Gogeta. I want to throw one more thing for Gogeta. He had those 2 ults, but the ultimates were doing like 30-second nullify endurance. Insane. Insane that it lasted for 30 seconds, by the way. Don't recall. Actually, Omega Shenron has a mechanic that hasn't been reused yet, actually. So he has the support style Zenkai ability. Zenkai, not Zenkai, Ultra ability. It's a support style. Hasn't been redone yet, as far as I can recall. Plus damage inflicted by allies per GT battle member when the battle starts. So there's that. He has something. I don't think we have anything with these guys. Shallot, so Shallot. None of his forms do anything particularly unique. I mean, his forms are all really good, like all of them. Well, I'm like the lowest. I think this is the worst one. Outside of just using regular base Shallot, I think this is the worst one. But it was cool to see him pick up a gauge here. I think that they could have done a lot more with this Shallot, to be honest. Like, for one, give him an actual green card like they did for God. I don't know what the hell happened there. How they went back to the generic green card for some reason. But his gauge just kind of goes crazy in terms of allowing him to just peak with damage for like, what, 15 or 20 counts, whatever it is, post-gauge activation. But again, nothing crazy, nothing. I mean, it's crazy. It's just not stuff we haven't really seen before. So Goku Black, I don't think, is doing much else. I like Gohan's ability to draw a blue card. That's not anything crazy, though. Piccolo's gauge, again, pretty cookie-cutter stuff. Defensive utility, I believe, removes the Dragon Ball. Just cookie-cutter stuff, though. So Magenta is an extension, so by bringing him up, we'll bring up Tapion, and that they are the only 2 characters with a final counter in the game. This is the mechanic Tapion introduced last year, where when he is defeated, he will do that big AoE hit at the end. I also really like how the damage scales for type advantage versus disadvantage. Pretty cool little touch. They did not have to include that. Actually, it would have probably been bad if they didn't, if the hits were just neutral, right? So really do like that. But again, really cool mechanic to see, because this mechanic opened up the doors for giant characters in the game. And to kind of add a little bit of context, we got to bring up my favorite powerful opponent, the hero Tapion, the biggest enigma in the entire game, because they can't produce a single Hirudegarn character, which is my point. Anyway, back here, I believe that the very first giant form character animated in our game was this guy, if I recall correctly. So if I don't, I'm not going to bring him up later, but just going to throw him that bone, right? The question was, okay, well, are they just going to leave giant forms behind these animations then? Like LF animations? Is that what they're going to do? So it was really cool to see them find another way to use those giant forms in the game. I'm still holding out hope that one day they'll make like a world raid boss or something, and they make where like 4 people go in and you fight the huge Hirudegarn or Cell Max type character. But if you remember, a while before we actually got Cell Max / Magenta in the game, I was saying, like literally a few months ago, that there's no way for them to do Cell Max unless they do Magenta. And I know that some people were like, nah, Magenta sucks, who cares about it? But it's like, Magenta's the only outlet. They can't do anything else. Like, you may not like Magenta, but they have no choice, because he's the one that releases Cell Max. It was his idea to create Cell Max, etc. So anyway, I believe it was his idea. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, it's cool that they did that nonetheless, because you got to understand, the way that the game is, they are not going to scale those characters down. I mean, I guess anything's possible, never say never, right? But they have shown that they don't want to scale those characters down to be the size of a character like Broly or God, Topo, etc. They don't want to do that. Since they don't want to do that, they had to find another way, and I think they found a nice middle section. Next, we're going to bring up the preparation mechanic. There are only 2 of them in the entire game currently, and the other one is going to be none other than your boys, the originator of the mechanic, everyone's favorite, just not good character. I don't think they're bad, but they're not good at all either. They're the definition of mid. Anyway, everyone's favorite, Tag Super Saiyan 3 and 2. So these guys introduced that mechanic where they get the preparation, and ultimately Goku comes in and does that freaking massively strong Kamehameha with that hit. I think the preparation mechanic has a lot of potential. I waited a while to bring it up, but I think the preparation mechanic in conjunction with the tag mechanics, which we haven't really talked about yet, but yeah, tags exist obviously as a new mechanic, or assist mechanic, but they're kind of an extension of one another. Anyway, I think preparation has a lot of potential because I have always wanted to see like a fusing character or something like that. I think preparation may be our outlet to it. Because, I mean, if you actually think about it, a fusing character doesn't have to be anything crazy. All you have to do is have a tag character, like Goku and Vegeta here, have them play the same way, you know, where Goku's there and then, you know, Vegeta pops in every now and again, so both characters are represented in the one, like how they are currently. And then you click the main ability to tag switch, and then, because they don't have a main ability, you click the ability to tag switch, and then it just plays an animation. Just plays an animation, and then another character pops in. It's no different than when a character transforms. Like, say we're using, I don't know, a transforming Gohan. And he just it's no different. Do you think they don't have to create a separate model for that? They don't just change the character color of the hair. They have a whole other model for that, kind of. Anyway, moving on. I don't think it's any different, so I think they could do that, and I think that you could have a really cool way of doing that. Like, if you wanted to make another Super Saiyan Goku, actually remake this character, but from Fusion Reborn type deal, have them getting beat up a little bit and stuff like that, and then the preparation pops, and then preparation is the fusion, right? So I think there's a lot of potential with this. I'm going to save that topic for another video, though, so stay tuned for it. But preparation is pretty awesome. So this guy's gimmick is the revival. And I want to shout out Revives being the first one here with Cell while we have the opportunity. And again, by extension, all these other characters. And we should have mentioned it with Piccolo, really. But, like, this mechanic is also super impactful. And you know it's impactful when in like 2.5 years, give or take, they've only made 7 of these characters. They just gave us 2 of them this year. So, like, you know this mechanic is super impactful. Also, you also really know it's super impactful because all these characters basically suck pre-revive. I think there's some fun stuff. Like, I like this guy's main ability, Super Saiyan Blue Goku. I like Piccolo sometimes with the green card. I like Frieza's utility with the sub countdown. I believe he does that stuff too. I don't really care about this green Gohan. I like this purple Gohan's main ability. The other characters kind of suck pre-revive. I guess green Goku, Blue Goku's AoE. I don't remember Cell much, but maybe he has something redeeming too. But yeah, very impactful effect, distinctly different from Endurance. I think it's way better than Endurance as well because it stops the combo in its tracks to play that animation. So yeah, huge shout out to the Revive effect as well. And while we're on the topic, Endurance. The very first Endurance character was, not you, I believe the very first one was it was one of these 3. I think it was Green Vegeta. It was Green Vegeta, wasn't it? It was Green Vegeta, I'm pretty sure. It was one of these 3. God, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's Green Vegeta. Another little bit of trivia was a Green Vegeta. So Green Vegeta was particularly crazy when he released because he had that in a climate where no one else had it. So he was super duper strong. And he also had that AoE green. Again, I think he also may be the originator of that AoE green card too. If he's not the originator of having that green card that hits all the spaces around you, he's like definitely one of the first original characters if he's not the actual originator. So again, every time they produce something, pretty crazy. You know, I want to kind of highlight this guy because I see him. His original effect, I believe he's the original character of having the passive support effect. So he had the gimmick where he had Endurance and it was really funny. But when he popped the Endurance, his champion call activated and he gave allies these support buffs, right? So, and the point is, they do only go until he's defeated, so that sucks. But the point is, like, he didn't have to switch repeatedly. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are characters that have the bestow power trait, I believe, and they switch to give the buffs. In fact, this guy should have it. He does not have it, but he should, because he does that. Anyway, moving on. Pretty awesome stuff there from those characters and their original effects. I don't believe... Did this guy introduce anything? I don't think this guy introduced anything. I think he just did everything. That's what it is. I don't think he introduced anything new. Crap, I think he just did everything. If I'm forgetting something, let me know. I don't think he did. I think his gauge, all that stuff, it's just all cookie cutter stuff we've seen elsewhere. Same for this guy. I mean, like, he had some fun stuff for, like, the no switch and stuff like that, but, like, that stuff is just, it's not really gimmicky, you know? This guy, though, screw this guy big time. So he introduced multiple things. He was the first and is still the only character that does that dumb. I have no idea why this exists. It's the dumbest thing ever. I guess I get why conceptually, but it's stupid. The automatic win on the Dokubaki clashes. Oh my God, I hate that. It's like I suck already at them. They don't need the automatic win. My opponents don't need the auto win. I promise you. I suck already. That just rubs salt in the wound. So yeah, he introduced that. And obviously, he wasn't the first auto dodge. While we're on the topic of UI, we can bring up Ultra Instinct Goku, which, okay, he has his own trait just for him because of the counter effect. That's pretty awesome. Okay. I had no idea. Shout out to Purple UI, who was the first character that did the auto dodge. They didn't give you your own trait. That's awesome. Anyway, auto dodge, pretty crazy. But that guy takes it to another level by being the first one being able to counter as well. So yeah, they went out of their way to produce several things for this guy. Pretty cool to see. Also, on the topic of this guy, there are a few characters in the game. I don't know, he's not the originator of it, but there are very few characters that have blast armor that doesn't do any damage. He has that on his ultimate. What's it called? Nullify blast. There it is. Nullifies. He doesn't have blast armor on the ultimate. He just flat out takes no damage. It just nullifies. He ignores it. Very few characters have something like that. Anyway, let's get out of here and get back to our list. So shout out to the preparation mechanic. We got sucked into a little vortex of stuff because of that. Kiawe has that double vanish, but nothing crazy. We see Casserole also doing some fun stuff. Jiren, I don't think Jiren does anything particularly unique that he's introducing. Oh, do I really need to talk about them? Do I really? So they're not the first character that tries to wall off or seal or interact with the Rising Rush in some capacity, but they flat out say you can't use it until we decide you're ready. So their mechanic is 100% new and holistic to them. We don't really need to talk much about them. Honestly, I don't know much about the Cells kit because I don't have them, or the Trunks for the record. Roshi, though, really cool to see the Mofuba in the game. So new mechanic for him and the sealing of characters and stuff and the way that functions. Really, really cool effect. I didn't peg them to have to do that. I didn't think they were going to do that for sure. Nothing new on these characters here. Do these guys? No, they're like gimmick is the key reduction, but they don't do anything particularly new or anything like that. I think this guy may be the first one to do what the Rising Rush thing I mentioned earlier. Maybe. But there's nothing new going on with these characters here. Do you do something specific? Oh, I think this is I was going to say no, but I think they're the originator of the blue card seal. So it's not the originator of any card seal, but I think they're the first character that may seal blues. Okay, maybe not, because I think Future Gohan may be that, but they do it in a very passive way on activations of strikes. Do you know how annoying that is? It may, or maybe it's not just strikes anyway. I have to go back and reread it, but using it on cards basically, and Rose also does that. It's extremely annoying. Anyway, whenever you use whenever they're trying to like use a blast or something, and they've got your blue card sealed, you can't blast armor fly through. Or if they're going to go for a tackle, if your blue card happens to be sealed, you can't turn that into that, and you better hope you have a strike. Like, it just completely changes a lot of interactions. So crazy effect. Other than that, they kind of just do some, again, cookie cutter normal stuff. Pan, I believe, is the originator of the Arts Power debuffs, which is actually going to prove to be one of the best mechanics in the game, best aging mechanics, etc. The ability to reduce Arts Power is something that we've needed because characters have been doing too much damage for far too long. So I believe she's the originator of that effect. Cooler is not the originator of his gimmick, but it's still worth note that on entry you get that subcount / pseudo lock-in effect that pops up as well. Trunks is another character that gets the double ultimates. Piccolo, were you doing anything particularly? No. We already kind of talked about Beast Gohan. Tien is the only character in the game with his version of the Rising Rush interaction. Support action is what it's called. Has a special action that activates when on standby. This description leads me to believe that this can be wide use. Like they can do a lot more with this than just Rising Rushes. There are other effects, I guess, technically that should be in this criteria. Like when allies get hit effects, you know, reduce your own sub count, like things like that. Some of the Vegeta clan characters have stuff like that. So there should be more in this, I think. But just going based off of this, they have a lot more they can do with this. But nonetheless, if you lose the Rising Rush wager, my goodness, he will tri-beam the opponent and cancel it if the criteria are met. So original effect, no other character has it in the game but him. So pretty cool to see. Of notes, nothing there. We already talked about these boys. This guy, he's not the originator of having his own freaking transformation locked, but I guess with what he tries to do, I guess maybe. The Gammas, nothing really crazy there. The androids, don't think they really do much crazy, but I guess this is a good opportunity to bring up tag switching. So tag switching's originator is these guys. So crazy mechanic when it was introduced. I kind of am really lukewarm on these characters though. Like, I feel like most of these characters have aged terribly. Like, actually terribly. Seriously, terribly. I think, okay, maybe not most. At least half of them, though. It's too soon to say for the new ones, and I think Goku and Frieza are going to age insanely well because they also, you know, are completely different colors, not just the reverse. Anyway, Trunks and Vegeta are whatever to me. Super Saiyan 4s, I think, are still pretty good. The droids are not as good as they were, but I think you could use them successfully maybe. But they lasted for a really long time, so I'm not mad. And Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta, whatever. Okay, moving on from there. Oh, this guy, obscure mechanic. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he's the originator of that. Not going to spend much more time on it, but pretty cool. Beerus, definitely one of the more underrated characters. Probably is actually pretty good right now with a dominant red in the meta again. Or another one, I guess. But anyway, you know what it is? It's not just that there's another dominant red. It's one you're going to see in every game. Hit was dominant, but you wouldn't see him in every game. Anyway, originator of the anti-revive mechanic. There are characters that have like pseudo anti-revive effects where if they force the enemy to revive, they'll like reduce Dragon Balls, blah, blah, blah. And I think Gogeta Super Saiyan 4 may be the originator of that effect, for the record. Anyway, maybe not, but somewhere in that area. Was it Gogeta 4? Whatever. Anyway, Beerus actually will stop them from getting their revive. He's the only character in the game because he's God of Destruction. Okay, Jiren, do you do anything particularly? No, I don't believe so. Off the top of my head, anyway. Like, you see what I'm saying when I say, like, there's so many effects that have popped up in, like, the last year and a half? We've only looked at the last year and a half of characters, basically. There's so many effects that they have done in this game that are brand new effects. It's pretty crazy. They've been cooking, man. They have been cooking. And then there's some other fun stuff like Bardock's, you know, gimmick and how he works. Trunks' gauge, nothing crazy with that, but he may be the originator of his version of the gauge. Back here, gauges were still kind of uncommon, the unique gauges and stuff like that. And I want to say, I think that the originator of the unique gauge actually is UI Goku. Is this guy the originator of the unique gauge overall? Dude, look, hold on. I think he is. Look at this. They left this mechanic alone for a while, bro. Look how many they put out since the year 4 anniversary. Dude, they left. Look how many they put out in 2023. Jesus. Oh, hey, no, it's not in order. I'm going from order from the bottom. It's not completely in order. Some of them are, some of them aren't. But still, they left this mechanic alone for a while after Trunks. Goodness. That's just awesome, and that's kind of what I mean when I say, like, some of these effects are pretty crazy. They're gonna last for a long, well, they're gonna last forever because, you know, they'll always be able to come back to them now that they've produced them. But they have done so many effects in this game. I'm sure I'm glossing over some, but we are going to conclude here. But look at this, guys. We went over the last, like, year and a half / like 2 years or so of Legends, and there were so many characters that had either unique effects or effects that were really close to being unique because, you know, maybe they just had a better version of it, and maybe they're like the second or third character to have that effect, or things like that, right? So I want to ask once again, what was your favorite original effect? So to answer my own question, I am very, very, very lukewarm on the tag mechanic, but I think it's my favorite one. I, however, am still perplexed at how there's no Goten and Trunks. I have no clue. Shout out to assist mechanic too, because that exists, but they haven't done one in like, what, a year? No, the last one they did was Goku Black and Zamasu, right? They haven't done a single one since. Do they even have a trait for this? No, they don't have an assist trait. Assists are in poverty. They don't give a damn about assist characters. And I understand why with tags, but I thought that they could still do assists, considering, I don't know, they did an assist and a tag at the same time. Didn't this character release with the tag Super Saiyan Blues? Anyway, I don't think they've done another one since, but shout out to them too as the original double character mechanic. That actually goes to Broly and Chilai. I remember their teaser, and we were like, what the hell? 2 characters in once? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I think to me, the dual character mechanic, assist or tag, is my favorite because 2 characters is really, really cool. I think there's still a ton of potential in tags and assists. So many combinations they can do still that they haven't even scratched the surface on. And I look forward to more original machinations of those tag characters. Like I mentioned, they can get really creative with some of those things and have more joint attacks, like extensions into preparation, things like that, where they play pretty crazy animations and stuff. I think there's a lot of potential with a character like the Gamma 1 and 2, what they did with them with tag and preparation and things like that, and those gauges and stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see all of you in the next one, guys.